so worried about your feelings. It's not my job to make you feel good. My job is to train you so that when you go out to do your job, you don't get somebody else killed.
All right, so whatever. I always overthink these videos, but basically I'll just talk about it instead of being elaborate with pulling out my uniforms and all kinds of other weird stuff that I had in my head to make it more interesting. So hopefully it'll be interesting. INFP and military don't always seem to mix when you first bring it up. It is definitely a more of an SJ type environment. There's a lot of structure. There's a lot of rules. There's a lot of just, you know, you guys know what I mean. So going back to like the military being like more of a catered to more of that SJ thing, it is. It really is catered that way. And a lot of people on YouTube, I think I'm up to about 9 or 10 types that people think I am. I think when you get to 16, you get like a free toaster or something like that, you know, the MBTI.com or whatever it gives you as a prize. But I think a lot of that, again, what I've been to, I know myself, you know, it's whatever. People are going to make their opinions, especially on a nicely edited YouTube video that does need somewhat of a format to convey, or else it's just a mess, whatever. But again, a lot of that, 9 years, military, SJ kind of world, it doesn't turn you not into a preferred personality type, but it does develop a lot of those negatives, like I was saying. There's a lot of that stuff that, the discipline and just like, you know, making your bed, a lot of this stuff I didn't have. Coming up with my mom, I didn't clean my room. My room was a mess all the time. It's just like, there's a lot of discipline stuff that I was
certain standards that they have to meet. It's to start to instill that discipline, to let them know to pay attention to detail. We teach them how to make their beds. We talk to them about their wall lockers. We start to give our trainees a little more responsibility.
I didn't have a father figure in my life, so it was kind of like, you know, my mom was constantly working. I was kind of the oldest one in the house, and we didn't really have tons of discipline. But it is indeed a place where you will grow, I will say. And not, again, a preferred place. And again, I always, in a lot of my videos, I just believe that's the true thing, is like, you know, if you're not developing your weaknesses, you're not truly really developing yourself when you stay in the comfort zone of just, you know, playing with things that make you comfortable and things like that. And military is not one of the things that are going to keep you comfortable. I laid out my little shadow box here. It's just capturing of, I was in the Air Force, I guess to start out with. I was in the Air Force for a total of 9 years. I did 8 years active duty, which is like full-time kind of thing. And then when I got out in 2007, I did a year of National Guard in Ohio. I wasn't really a super fan of the Guard. It's like that 1 week in a month, 1 week in a year kind of thing. And this is just kind of a capturing all the ribbons and medals kind of thing I won, just different tours. It's one of those things that just has different things about it. And you can just remember, that's the longest chunk of like work history that I have in my life. And that's kind of what just captures it the best of what was going on. But so let me get into the part where this is how it started. I didn't have any friends that I knew who were in the military. I didn't have an older sibling. I'm the oldest sibling in my whole family and cousins and everything else. But there was no one else that kind of went before me that I had knowledge of other than my granddad. He was in the Marines for like over 20 some years. He rarely talked about it when we grew up and things like that. So I didn't really have a good depiction of the Marines other than he always recommended to me to go into the Air Force, opposed to the Marines because you all get paid the same. Air Force does have nicer facilities, things like that. Each branch has benefits with either one you go, especially if you're like a Marine type family. There's nothing wrong with the Marines. We need the Marines. But I just wasn't that kind of, I don't know, G.I. Joe soldier. So I went for more of the technical thing. So what happened was, and I keep going back. All right. So it happened in the fall of 1998 when Sean was 17 years old. Senior year of high school. It was around November-ish time frame. I had no idea what I was going to do after high school. Zero. No idea, no plan. I was currently working as like a cashier at a department store kind of thing.
Please bring your items
I didn't have
to checkout now.
I didn't. Looking back now, I'm just like, wow, you you didn't have nothing. That's kind of crazy. But I really didn't. I was living with my mom, and I didn't really have. I wasn't enrolled to go to a college. I didn't have anything I planned. I just was going through high school, trying to get through high school, and then I guess I was gonna magically fall into adult life somehow. Knowing that, my mom kind of randomly just brought up the military. I was. Again, it was something that completely I didn't think much about. Just like whatever. What's that about? So I ended up. She took me to the Navy recruiter. So I went in there and talked to them first. I talked to the Navy, and again, like I said, I wanted more of that technical like side of things than being in an infantry type world. Or you guys know Marines and things like that. So it's not saying there's not technical fields in the Marines, but. I was just geared more towards that Air Force-y, Navy type branches in that sense. So I went to the Navy recruiter. He took me out to lunch. They're basically like salesman type people. That's the vibe they give off. They're trying to recruit you, you know what I mean? So they're going to be your best friend. They're going to do certain things like that. But with him, he rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like him. He was very, just weaselly, I guess. And for me, that was just, it just didn't feel right. So I felt like I was trapped. So what happened, I remember I was actually like sitting in my house and he came over one time and I got my mom to actually tell him that we don't want to go with the Navy. So my mom actually stood up for me back then. But I just have a problem when I get into things. It's hard for me to back out sometimes, whatever it is, relationships, all kinds of stuff. So early on, she kind of helped me get out of that. And then I went to the Air Force. I liked him a lot better. And so then I rolled in some delayed entry program where you meet up with them like once a month, like with a group of people prior to going in the military. You just kind of get prepped and, you run around the track to kind of get a little bit of physical activity going and things like that. And just kind of get an early understanding of military, or I guess, I don't know. But it was all, so anyway, I enrolled in that. So then when I graduated high school, I took a month. It was about a month off. I enlisted in the military June 30th of 1999. June 30th, 1999. But so I had that little month off, went down there. The basic training for Air Force is in Lackland, Texas. It's Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. Flew down there. Again, I've never really been away from home. All this was new to me. So me traveling to Texas, I was from California. I've been to multiple states before that, traveled from California to Ohio and I've been around, but as my first time by myself was that. So you get in there, right when you get off the tour buses, in that place, you start getting yelled at like hard.
Get off the bus and get in the building. Move faster, you move.
So I'm like, again, I'm an 18-year-old little kid that had no idea, away from home for the first time. I don't know what's going on. I'm getting yelled at. I don't like to be yelled at. I don't even like to be yelled at right now. But they just come at you pretty hard, and that's the whole thing. So like back then it was like 6.5 weeks of basic training. Now I think it's about 8.5 weeks. So I was kind of like, I was like one of the last classes to actually go through until they extended it. We were actually prepping the extra place where they were extending it with gas chambers and all kinds of weird like obstacle course things that we didn't have to do. So one of the first things they kind of do the first week when you kind of get there, they got to get you to all look the same. Again, with an INFP, it makes you cringe right at first. We all want to have individual freedom and just, look different and kind of express ourselves in different ways. I was not a person. My mom was a single mom raising 3 kids. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. I was on, food stamps, welfare, all that stuff. So we didn't have the nicest of clothes. So, I was commonly wearing the same outfit multiple times a week to school, things like that. But in the military, that sense of where everyone looks the same. You have the same uniform. Like I have a book here. It's like a book when you get like, when you graduate, it's like they can make extra money. So you buy it and it has like pictures kind of through this thing that all flash up here. But it's got like the black and white ones are kind of like pictures of all of us. But like getting our haircuts and stuff like that. So again, I'll take some pictures and put them up on the screen somewhere. Because I'm in there a bunch of times so you guys can see young Sean. But what they do is right away they shave everyone's head, the boys anyway. The girls just got to put their heads up. You know, the girls got certain protocol they got to do with their hair and things. But within a matter of a few days, they shave all your heads. So it's not like shaving ball with a bic or whatever, but they shave it all down to like a guard of one or something like that. So all the guys essentially look the same. You get all the same uniforms, you know, you go through all that. So it quickly strips away all the cliques and the popular kids and all that stuff where, again, I wasn't a popular kid. I was a kid that was hiding in the shadows trying to stay away from everybody because I got picked on and bullied every single day. So I was really trying to draw attention to myself. Whether you are a popular kid, you have fancy clothes, you're drawing attention to yourself, or you're a kid who doesn't have nice clothes, you're drawing attention to yourself, whatever. So I like the fact that, yes, I do like to wear whatever I want to wear, and I don't have a sense of style. I just like to be comfortable. Jeans, t-shirt, hoodies. That's my preferred way to go. I did enjoy that aspect of it all. But the military, again, it gave me a place to go, whereas prior to that, I didn't have anywhere to go. So you learn very quickly. I wasn't in any team sports. I didn't play sports in school. I didn't have any of that kind of camaraderie-ship that is nice. Team building and team environment is a nice thing to have under your scope of who you are as a person, just to kind of, as much as we don't want to like always be with people, it is good to be able to know how to integrate well with people and things like that if you have to. So I appreciated that it kind of does a team, because it was one person would mess up, the whole entire group, we would all get punished. So it kind of gets you to all band together and, you know, help that person and just help them not fail. So then in turn, we don't all fail. There's a lot of things, but they put a lot of effort into building you as a person. But yes, during the 6 weeks, and then also like I went to, after basic training, I went to a technical school. And that was a 6.5 month technical school for my electrical, mechanical, like working on diesel engines or whatever, kind of trade that I randomly got put in.
Aerospace ground equipment is a career field that's designed to support aircraft while they're on the ground doing maintenance, or to also make sure they have what they need to launch. We're working with gas turbine engines, diesels, electronics, hydraulics, air compressors, nitrogen generation. Age mechanics do it all.
The military, just based on my test scores, they gave me a couple options, and then like I went there, and that's where they put me. They can kind of put you wherever they want, but like that's where I ended up. Again, not having, I wasn't working on cars. I wasn't one of those technical, I wasn't a mechanical type kid at all. I didn't do any of that stuff. But that's kind of where I went, just because I had no other plan of where I should go. So there was a lot of like, just a big wake up call. And it's just like when I got into the basic training, there's a lot of just, you know, I was an angry teenager, because again, I was getting bullied all the time. So I was essentially taking it out on my mom and things like that, my people around me that I was comfortable with, because I wasn't retaliating at school. I wasn't getting in fights. I just ducked my head down and tried to stay as small as I could the whole time. But I was, in that sense, I was a very disturbed, angry kid, in a sense. I wasn't violent or anything like that, but I was just always yelling and slamming my door and just very upset. And so, like, there wasn't a whole lot of, you know, I love yous at home. There wasn't a whole lot of appreciation shown towards my mom, because she wasn't there a lot. You know, she was working really hard. When it came to basic training, after I started getting yelled at and you just really feel how stripped of your freedoms you are and this and that, I cried a lot. Like there was you know, just by myself, like, you know, writing letters home. We'd write letters home every day and things like that. I'd cry a lot, just kind of emotional purge a lot of that stuff. But so yeah, this is already getting super long. So my first base, after tech school, I went to tech school, which was in Shepherd, Texas. That was in, where was that at? It started with a W. Had a bunch of Whataburgers there. I know that, because we ate there a lot. I don't know what it was. I'm sure I'll put it up. That's what I'll do. I'll just put it on the screen when I look it up when I get to this part in editing. It starts with a W. I know it does. And that was like a total of whatever, 7-8 months in Texas to start off my military journey. And then my first base that I was assigned to was England. So again, coming from a small little town in Ohio, I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. I live in Texas for a year or 8 months, and the next thing you know, I'm going to England. Like I didn't have no money. I wasn't going to go travel the world, and right when I graduated high school, I didn't have any of that planned. First base was England. I got there right before I turned 19. Drinking age is 18 in England, and as military people, when we go to a country that has a certain drinking age, you can drink with them as well. So I've been drinking legally since I was 19. Not that drinking's good, but that's where I started that's when I started my party. A lot of people in high school, I didn't go to prom, I didn't go to any parties. I drank a couple times maybe, but I didn't go to parties, I didn't do any of that stuff. So my high schooly party days essentially started in the military. So again, for like all of my 20s, I was a partying alcoholic. And that's what you do. You're away from your family. You're in different countries. You do all this stuff. So you go around, you hang out with people your coworkers, this and that. You have nothing really to spend your money on because you're getting free dorms. You're living in the dorms for free. You're kind of like a college kid, but with money. That's the best way for me to describe it. Is that way, because a lot of college kids talk about like, oh yeah, I can only afford the cheap beers. We were buying all kinds of stuff. If you're smart about your paychecks, you would save them. But for a lot of people that are whatever new to the adult world, this and that, that's what we spent our money on, was drinking, partying, whatever. That's what I did anyway. And again, it also helped me to kind of dull the craziness of being in that SJ type platform of the military in general, because again, that's the whole thing. It's
like, how in the world did you make it?
I'm not saying you have to turn into a raging drunk for being in the military, but for me, especially in the early age bracket and all that, it definitely was a large part of my military journey for that whole time, just to kind of get myself through all the crazy whatever. But so went to England. That was my first base. I was stationed there for 4 years. It's a great hub for Europe. Seen a lot of places around there. Scotland, Holland, Germany, Iceland, France, Spain. Went to South Africa for a couple weeks. It's a really good hub. I wouldn't recommend living in England. 4 years was definitely too long. I would definitely recommend visiting, but 4 years was way too long. I kind of felt okay about the 2-year mark, and then after that, it kind of just, I really needed to get out of there. But anyway, 4 years in England. Again, from a young person, it's a massive, invaluable experience to get stuff like that. To fill our NE bucket and all this stuff of not just watching stuff on the news and, people like to assume.
Oh yeah, I know what that's like.
If you've never done it, you don't know what it's like. Like, you can assume. But if you really firsthand experience things for yourself, especially in early age, you just have so much more data to go off of later in life that, you really get to see stuff. I was deployed in 2005. I went to Afghanistan. I was there for 90 days. We were there to support like an Italian Air Force job. We were flying in all their supplies for like a 5,000 man tent city or something like that. So we were kind of working side by side with them. But it was really roughing it for the Air Force. We were living in tents. There was like about 10 of us in a tent, not showering every 4-5 days to conserve our water supply that we had to bring with us. Baby wipes in between, things like that. We were like going to the bathroom in buckets and burying it. And it was roughing it for the Air Force, but definitely by no means was it like as bad as what Marines and Army and things like that go through. Going to like a place like that, there's a lot of the surrounding kids from the town that was, I don't know, a few miles away. They would come up to our makeshift sea wire fence that we made, and like they really bring you a snap to reality, because these kids were like, they remind you of stray animals. And stray animals, again, for an INFP, for me, it's like I see a stray, I'm gonna save them all and just bring them all into my house. Because it's such a saddening thing to see. But when you see a kid with no shoes and this and that walking up to the sea wire fence, and they're basically doing this gesture, asking for food kind of thing, where we were told by our the special forces we were with and this and that, that we can't interact with the locals and things like that. So it really breaks your heart to see stuff like that. But being able to really be a part of, really in the middle of like a third world country kind of thing, and just really see another side of life, it really helps you also get away from a lot of that first world complaining kind of stuff.
My Frappuccino mocha latte from Starbucks it's a little bit too hot for me.
A lot of that stuff just first world problems. It gets, tone it down, Americans. Like it's a lot worse out there, and when you get to see it, it just, again, like I said, it just brings this kind of humblingness to your mind. You can kind of go forward and just know, okay, it could be worse. You know, anytime, because life beats us up, doesn't matter how happy you look on a certain day, life still beats us all up. And it's a good reminder to be like, you know what, it could be worse. And to really have that image in your head that it could be worse. It's a good thing to have. After the England, my last base was New Jersey. I was stationed there for 3 years and just finished out my tour then. And there's a lot of cool stuff that I also was able to do when you're partnered with the military thing. I stood on the start-finish line at Pocono NASCAR race. You know, when they hold that humongous flag, there's a bunch of military people holding that flag out in the field when they're singing the national anthem or whatever. I flew in an F-15. I'll put a video right there. But I went temporary duty assignment to Florida. They were swapping like 4 jets from one base to another. They asked, not asked, but they offered the best performing kind of people for those certain jobs a flight, which, you know, I was like, whatever. I didn't think in a million years I'd ever do that, but I was strapped in the back of an F-15 fighter jet. I flew it for like 15 minutes when I was up there, which was pretty sweet, but it was that was back before we had phones, cameras with phones and things like that. So I didn't have a lot of big, but I got a picture of like a flight suit or whatever, and I don't know, I got some documentation I was in there, but I so wish I had a phone back then with pictures. It was 2002, I think it was. But that was an amazing experience that not a lot of people get to do. It's just like, I mean, I don't know. But there's so many things that like, that really you get experience that the military provides you that you're not going to be able to do if you typically just go about your normal life of like, what do I want to do? I have no idea. And most people, when they retire and get out of the military and things like that, they kind of go away. The haircut, I still got the same military haircut that I had when I got out in 2008 from the Guard or whatever. But that's because, so on that New Year's pic that we just saw, 2001, I was obviously in the military for 9/11. It interests some people. My story was somewhat kind of interesting with how it all played out, but I was in England, and it was my last day. I was actually, you know, England's like 6 hours ahead or whatever. It was my last day at work, and then I was going on leave or vacation for 30 days back to the States on September 12th. So I had a plane ticket out of London the next day, and 9/11 happened, unfortunately. And so for the next 3 days, all the flights were grounded. We weren't allowed to go anywhere. So what I basically did was I sat in my dorm room, I remember, and I was just glued to the news. And one of the things with me, I'm not an advocate for conflict or fighting, you know, that's just how I live my life. But when you are in the actual military, and 9/11 brought emotions to a lot of people, different emotions people had towards it, whatever. But when you're really in the military and you're really in the thick of it all, and you can actually, you feel like you can provide, you know, assistance as your job entails. It's kind of interesting to be a part of, but yeah, so like after 3 days, London lifted the flight restrictions, and then people thought I was crazy, but I was definitely going on vacation. And everyone was like, why would you want to fly right now? But I figured it was probably the safest time to fly out of any other time. So I did fly back to the States on September 15th, and proceeded to finish my vacation. Went back, and my base, England, we have fighter jets there. So we were one of the first kind of bases to participate in the beginning war kind of stuff. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say about that. A couple years before getting out, I learned how to cut my own hair, which was a product of me not liking to go to the barbershop every 2 weeks and have the awkward small talk. And also the people in the waiting area staring at the guy getting his hair cut. It was just all this attention getting on you and this and that. So That's the only reason why I kind of kept my military haircut kind of thing. Just because it's a way I can cut my hair. I don't always do it the best week to week, but as you guys know, I'm a hat guy. So if I butcher it a little bit and it's blonde hair, it doesn't show as bad. I kind of can hide it all with a hat. But yeah, it came time to get out, and I could have stayed in. But it came to the point where 8 years active duty and this and that, I was at the point where I didn't have a long-term relationship. You know, it started sinking in my head where I kind of wanted to experience more of that side of things. Maybe have like a family, or just sit down and have a dog. You know what I mean? It's live where I wanted to live, not where the government told me to live for how long.
Bailey, say Merry Christmas. Can you wave? Bailey.
You go get your dinner. No, come here.
No.
Come here.
Come on. Yay. Come on.
Just again, get that freedom type thing back for myself, and that's why I would have got out. If I would have stayed in at 20 years, you can retire and get a paycheck immediately for the rest of your life on day one. And again, that's a benefit that, you know, a lot of places don't get. You have to wait till you're 65, 70 or whatever it is to collect some kind of pay. But military, you get it right away. So if I would have stayed in, I would have retired, got free medical, free retirement check for the rest of my life, and that would have been 2 years ago. I would have got that. So shoulda, woulda, coulda, but I've been out in the civilian world since, still trying to make it and figure out how I'm going to retire, because I don't really have a plan. I'm just going job to job and don't make the best financial decisions. Again, when people first see this, you know, you immediately think to yourself,
Absolutely not. That's not what I'm doing.
but for me, I will highly recommend this to anyone, especially when you're a young person who has no idea what they want to do. I see it all the time in the comment section. My biggest audience base is 20-year-olds, you know, whatever it is. I don't know, 18 to 30-year-old, I don't know. But it's somewhere in the 20 area. And I see a lot of comments where it's just like, I have no idea what I want to do with my life, this and that. And I get it. I was there. I had zero idea, like I said in the very beginning of the video. I had no idea what I wanted to do either. But I don't regret for a second my experiences and the time I spent in the military, because it gave me certain tools. Again, another reason getting out, I got out as an E5, which is a staff sergeant. I tested 2 times for E6, which was a technical sergeant. But like that was another thing, right? When you got that next rank, if you studied, you know, you got to take tests, but if you made the next rank, then you'd have to go to another leadership school. But to get my rank, when you get E5, you have to go to like a leadership program school. And that's the first time I ever did a speech in my whole life. So again, the massive anxiety was through the roof, doing things like that, but they're trying to develop you as a person. They're giving you a lot of leadership skills. They're putting all this training into you as a person, to physically round you out, to mentally, to all this stuff they're trying to do is build you as the best person they can actually do. And a lot of companies outside here, are just interested in like,
Learn how to do this so you make us money. All right, get back to work.
Military puts a lot of emphasis on people development. So a lot of stuff that may be seen from me on YouTube and this and that, like,
oh, INFPs don't, you know, get on YouTube, and he's
I don't know. I get so many different types. I'm sure I'll get some types down in the comment section in this one, but it is what it is. I know who I am. It doesn't mean an INFP can't go to the military. It doesn't mean an INFP can't be on YouTube. It doesn't mean an INFP can be some kind of famous actor, whatever. We can do anything anyone else can do. It's just the military, in my opinion, again, especially if you do not have a plan, is a very viable option. Again, I will recommend it to anybody. They'll think I'm crazy right off the bat, but I'm telling you, I have no regrets, and I think it really set me up to really experience life on a better term level, because it's like a lot of those weaknesses and things like that I was uncomfortable with, it just really kind of sunk it all in. And again, traveling the world at such an early age on your company's dollar, that's not always going to be how it is for young people. You know what I mean? You got to work your way up the chain, things like that. But to travel and have all those kind of experiences, it's just like, I got a college degree on the military. I didn't spend a single penny on college education. I got a degree in electronics through the military and the GI Bill and all that stuff. So there's so many things that I got from the military that I don't know. So I'm pro-military. Obviously, that's what I'm trying to get at. But even if you just want to test out, you can sign up for just 4 years. 4 years is not that long of a time. But 4 years, sign up for that, do that, and then you don't like it, fine, get out. You know, it's like,
No, I want to be an INFP and I want to go back to doing whatever I want to do when I want to do it.
Fine, whatever. But like 4 years is not that long. So you do that, you get some college education benefits, you know, you can do that. And I'm not a school fan. I just literally, the only reason why I got a college degree, honestly, because I was never a fan of school. I understand the importance of education. I get that. I like to read about stuff and, you know, self-educate myself all the time with knowledge. But when it comes to formal schooling, I'm not a fan. I just never was. And so I never thought in a million years I would even have a degree from college. But like doing 4 years, you get that college degree thing. So like, that's the only reason why I have a degree right now, which again, helps you in the work world, just gives you more options to pick from. It's a piece of paper where I don't even know where it's at, but at least I have that piece of paper that's behind me. And now when you go to a job, you know, you have more jobs to pick from because the minimum requirement is associate's degree or whatever it is. But I used that because it was kind of a use or lose benefit. And I was thinking to myself, like, you know what, as much as you don't want to go to military or go to school, that's what I did. I did night school for when I had that management job at the airport. I was going to night school and night classes. So it was a very difficult time of my life. And I had a young kid and all this stuff. So it was a pretty high stress. But again, it's something that, the military provided me. So again, I recommend it. If you guys want to, ask me anything about it that I left out of here, this is all a mess. It's not that entertaining, I guess. It's just, I don't know what I was trying to get out of this one. I want to do it better justice, but I think I'm a little tired today. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to post this. I'll post it. Okay. So, you guys have a good rest of the day. And you guys know I'm not the best at getting off of these channel things. So, see you later.